I was a fine artist, and we used to have letters. Guys, we love to have romantic love letters, and you know what? I used to, paint and decorate the papers before, and I would actually draw Cupid, and I would actually have some romantic.
So you're like the
graffiti.
romantic guy,
exactly,
yeah.
and people will buy them from me. And
Oh, really?
It made me quite popular in high school.
So
Kakamega High
you were
School.
you were selling to other guys, so
Exactly.
you needed something to give to their girlfriend.
Exactly,
At the time?
and I would even spray so that when she opens, it has a scent, to remind you of the boyfriend.
Wow. In Texas, one of the popular foods is called taco.
Yes.
Which to them sounds very much like taco. So you tell them, okay, we're going to go have taco. It's very good. No, we won't eat that. No, we refuse. And you explain it's a good meat. Maybe you could explain to our viewers what the taco is. It's like
Yeah, in Kenya, when you're talking about the taco thing,
Yeah.
it's the humans behind.
Yes.
So when you say you're gonna have beef made of taco, it's like you're gonna eat somebody's behind. So that.
So you try to explain it. You show, oh, it's just the meat, and then you show them the meat. Like, no, I can't have that one. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Nairobi Gold Rush podcast. We're talking to all the successful people in Nairobi of how they get that gold, and they show you the success of their life and where they've come from and where they are now. So we've got a very exciting guest with us today. We've got the mega star, the gospel musician that you all know, Rufftone, here. And he's here to share a lot with us and tell us about his journey and how he's become so successful in the music business and in the fashion design business and the CEO of record label. I mean, this guy has done it all. He's been around for many years. So great to have you here, Rufftone. I'm so excited to have you here on the podcast.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you for having me. Praise God.
Yes.
Yes.
So I'd like to get to learn a little bit about you. So maybe why don't you just start off and tell us about, like, who are you? Where are you from? How'd you get started in life?
Maybe I should start from the date I was born to. I'll try to summarize everything. I was born in Umoja, and I'm actually the second born in a family of about 8. My real names are Roy Smith Mwatia, but my musical name, I go by the name of Rufftone, Mr. Iggy Iggy Uncle Mlonzero. So I'm a Kenyan gospel artist, and I'm also Kenyan and international. And before I did become a gospel artist, I began off as a secular artist. So I remember I cleared school, and immediately after clearing school, I really wanted to venture into music, particularly we call it dancehall or raga. Those days we used to call it ragamuffin. So I remember that time there was only one TV station in the Republic. It was called KBC. It's still there. That
KBC,
time,
yeah.
exactly, it's still there. And we had a youthful program called Mizizi. And it's quite a coincidence because the producer is right behind the cameras. A person I respect and admire so much is called Mr. Flavian Mbuvi. And Flavian Busi. And he's the one who actually nurtured most of us. I remember that time Mizizi was like the uptown, upbeat kind of... I'll compare it to MTV or BET. Currently, because in Kenya, it was quite a reserved nation then. We used to have most of the songs, they were done in choir form. It was in choir.
Yeah,
but
so it wasn't like the crazy MTV. It's more like a choir form type of production.
Exactly. Now, you see, before MTV, everything was like country music. But now MTV embraced things like modern rock, pop, and even rap music. Yes, so it actually revolutionized the Kenyan
I bet
music.
that was something very crazy.
Yes.
I know in the town I grew up in the U.S.,
yes,
when MTV came, they actually banned MTV from my town because I think it was Madonna who, came in some kind of...
I remember she was the ambassador for MTV when it wasn't mainstream, and she's the one who like broke the gates into America and making it resonate with the youthful. I believe by that time the youth were experiencing a kind of what do you call it?
Rebellion. Or,
Exactly.
People, yeah, people wanted to go kind of a little crazy,
Yes.
and the lifestyle on MTV was definitely, the rock stars. They were doing the partying, the drugs, and
Yes,
everything.
yes.
And so, actually, at my town, it was so conservative. They said no MTV. So I was so sad because I always wanted to see the stars, the people doing these things. Not that I, not like, oh, I want to do drugs or something, but you just want to see what these guys are doing. What's this lifestyle about?
And Scott, that's exactly what was happening here, because I remember even the producer that I'm talking to you about, Mr. Mbusi, he encountered lots of resistance, because even the parents and everyone didn't understand where the music was going. So music was perceived to be like a very serious profession. Young people were not, should I say, accepted as per se. And even if you started singing as a young person, people will accept you when you became a little bit older. But now you see here we're going against the grain, whereby we've just come out of high school and your music is getting played on the FM station. And before you even get to college, you're already on the mainstream media. So it was like some sort of a silent taboo. But we managed to do that.
So that's what happened in your case. So did you get on the FM station when you were that young, I guess?
Yes.
Yeah, so
I was just in my 20s. I had just cleared high school. So 19, 20 years, that's when I got onto the
and what did your family say about your dreams for being in the music business? Were they supportive or?
No, music was never taken seriously. And until to date, I think even in Kenya, people still don't understand music. They don't take it as a professional, should I say, path. They always say there's a white collar job, and then the people who go wayward, they're the ones who end up into the, sorry to say, but the creative space. People, when you're talking about America and the UK, there's already a laid down blueprint on how music can change. And this is when the world is accepting that content creation is actually an independent industry and it's a beneficial industry. But then when I was starting, of course, even my parents were not for it, because we were nurtured to believe that you had to work in a bank, become a pilot, a doctor. They call it white collar job. But if you wanted to, create your own path, let's say in sports, in creative arts, people will look at you like you're a silent loser, or they will only excuse you to pursue it. You'll actually partake that one as you're waiting to join campus, or maybe when you want to venture into a professional job. That window after graduating from high school to getting to a job market, you could pursue music. And then after 2-3 years, you venture into something serious. People never used to look at it.
So what happened when you first heard your song on the FM radio? How did you feel when you first heard that?
It was quite an experience, because I remember I was quite optimistic, and I must take this opportunity to thank the radio presenter who granted me the first airplay. His name is John Karani. He was at the KBC, I think it was Beat Time, if I'm not wrong. So I don't know if it was by coincidence, he happened to be my neighbor in Umoja too. And somebody just told me he actually stays within the neighborhood. So I kept on going to his place every day. And every time he'll come from his office, you'll find me either at the outside his gate or in his living room. And I told him I believe that I have what it takes. So he kept on, postponing. But this time round, I think I was coming from college in a matatu, and then I had him now introducing Rufftone for the first time. The song was called It's Up to You, and I'd done a collab with a guy called Cloud9 and another one called Eddie Ndaula from Uganda.
Wow.
And it was amazing. Everything froze in me, and the reception was quite amazing.
Yeah, all your friends are coming to you now and saying, man,
of course,
you made the big time now.
It was quite a privilege when you're played onto a national broadcast. And, we didn't have, as I've told you, many radio stations then. And, KBC was actually going even to the diaspora. So your song, once it's played on KBC, it would actually overflow into Uganda, Ethiopia, Tanzania, and the rest of the neighboring countries. We didn't have internet then. But I remember after the song was quite successful on the radio, that's when now I met Flavian, and he helped me now sell my face to the people. Now people could say, oh, this audio that I listened to, this is the guy behind it.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
it was a transition from audio to vision. And of course, I became an instant celebrity.
Yeah, so you learned that marketing aspect of how you can market yourself to go to the next level. What did it really take to do that? I mean, I mean, how'd you get your face out there? What type of things did you have to do in those early days?
Scott, I can tell you, I was just, I don't know if I should say I was just existing, because as I've told you, after the audio, I was still in college. And then the beauty is KBC Radio also had a KBC TV, and it was quite an incident that by the time I was releasing that song, that's when the new program Mizizi by producer Mbusi was also beginning. So it's like fate, just everything coincided with the release of my music, It's Up to You. And of course, we were young people then. I remember that's when we had artists like Poxy Pressure then, Jackie Male, and the new ones, I remember, was Red Sun and One Two Moja, Shanky Radix, Macadam. I'll just to mention but a few. Nazizi, I think she was even still in high school, if I'm not wrong. And he actually helped us to produce the videos to our audios, and that is how we ended up marketing ourselves onto the Republic. But I cannot tell you that it was a strategy that I sat marinated upon and I said, let me go do music production. No, it's just that things fell into each other, and I ended up having now both audio and video.
And when you had the videos, where did you show the videos? Were you able to get them on TV? Because you mentioned you didn't have the internet back then.
I don't know, but all I can say is during those times, it was in the 90s. It's like America in the 40s, where you have only one TV station. You understand? Yeah. So we didn't have the luxury of many TV stations. So you could only be played on KBC, and that is enough. It's just like now we have Google. Once you're on Google, that's almost like that's enough.
Yeah.
So we didn't have many options. KTN came at some point. I think it was there, but it was a little bit, should I say, it wasn't national. I think
not so popular.
It was. I think it was popular, but not national. But KBC was all over the place. So once you're on KBC, that was
you're like a star. If
you are not like take a chance you are the star. You are the star.
Everybody knows you. So, exactly. So I guess you started getting a lot of fame then.
I'm telling you, I crisscrossed the country. I would get lots of invitations all over the country. And funny enough, people would actually fill those clubs when we went out there. Because I remember we would go to clubs like a White Rhino in Nyeri, would go to club Ikuuni, that one was in Machakos. We would go to what do you call it, Kakamega Golf Hotel in Kakamega. We would go to so many clubs, even in Naivasha, Nakuru Club, Dimples, just to mention but a few. But one thing I remember is the cities and the towns, not the cities, the towns will come to a standstill once most of us will go out there. I remember there's a time we went to Nyeri with a group of, it was a trio called Majize, and it was amazing. We followed it up with, would go for shows with people like Darling P, Gidi Gidi Majimaji, Red Sun, One Two Moja, and I can tell you, everywhere we would go, the city will come to
the town would just shut down.
It would everybody's shut down. I'm telling you.
Everybody's ready to.
And in Scott, let me tell you, we didn't have even CDs then. We would use the audio tape, and it was as raw as ever, but it was the realest performance that I experienced.
And I guess you guys were kind of peddling your audio tapes at your events and everything, trying to get rid of as many as you could.
Now that one came later on.
So it took some time before you even got to that level.
To that level.
Just kind of like word of mouth.
It was like we were so short-sighted. We just enjoyed. We were basking in the glory, not having that business mind. The older artists are the ones who had specialized in record distribution. We had some of the established record companies in Kenya, like Polygram then, and just to mention but a few, and them they would have. I remember that time. Still the LP, if you remember the LP.
Yeah, exactly,
They were there before the tapes came in.
I'm definitely old enough to know
Exactly. Right? So there were some who had already, should I say, a distribution line. But for the young ones, when we came in, we were using the tapes. Until now, we met some older advisors who came and told us you can actually monetize on your talent. We used to get lots of revenue from live performances, and somehow I don't know why it appeared like it was a little bit hectic for us to, as you're putting it, to sell the tapes. But later on, after I became a gospel artist, then I understood this is not only just a matter of singing, but it's also business. That's when I actually graduated to now distributing my tapes onto the music stores and distributing them countrywide.
No, I know as a kid, I was always into music. I always, I was always known for, like, when I was a young kid, I'd go to school and I would trade tapes with people, things that were controversial you weren't supposed to have, have you seen this this artist here?
So you liked the slippery lines.
Yeah, exactly, because you could kind of go around to school. And
of course you become popular.
Yeah, because your friends, they wouldn't have it. Their parents wouldn't let them buy it. You could get the one with the explicit lyrics maybe or something,
You're reminding me when I was in high school, I remember I was a fine artist. And we used to have letters. Guys will have to have romantic love letters. And you know what? I used to, paint and decorate the papers before, and I would actually draw Cupid, and I would actually have some romantic.
So you're like
graffiti.
the romantic guy,
exactly, and people would buy them from me. And
really?
It made me quite popular in high school.
So you were selling to other guys,
exactly,
something to give to their girlfriend.
Exactly, and I would even spray so that when she opens, it has a scent, to remind you of the boyfriend.
Wow, those guys have to be careful, because then when the girl finds out that you're the one delivering those things,
it was a phantom business where they don't know who's behind it. They would
find out, though. You have the ladies that I'm sure as you became the famous music artist over time, maybe you had those ladies coming to you then.
When I was not born again, that was
right in the early days.
It comes with the package.
So when you were doing this, you're first starting out, you're still in the secular music industry at this time?
Exactly. When I'm talking about when I was doing the first album that I did, it was a secular album. Mm-hmm. It was called Rough and Tough, until all the way to around the year 2000. So I got born again in the year 2000. Yes, I remember 2000 December, January there. And then I waited for a whole year where I was just isolating myself, downloading from the Lord. And then in the year 2002, that's when I met Robert Kamanzi. I'd met Robert Kamanzi. He's a producer from Burundi.
Yeah.
And, he met me as a secular artist. And he kept on telling me, Rufftone, come work together. But by that time, I was already working with another producer. He's called Lucas Bikedo, under Ogopa DJs. Mm-hmm. I was also under another record label called Hills Media, under Raskip. And I didn't want to be cocooned onto one production house. I was a free spirit. Yeah, sure. But after I got born again, of course, I could not go back to my former ways. I needed time to understand and to marinate onto the gospel and to learn the new faith that I'd acquired. So Robert was working in a church. I think it was Nairobi Pentecostal, if I'm not wrong. And he actually invited me over to his studio. It was called Shama Boy, if I'm not wrong. And that's when I did my first album. Some of the collaborations we did was with a lady called Henry Mutuku. There's another guy called Mbuvi and Shama Band and Boys. And that's when I released my first gospel album. That was in the year 2000. 2002. Yeah. And it performed pretty well.
Yeah, and so maybe what caused your conversion to become born again? What was there a big aha moment for you, or something that happened in your life that?
That's a very brilliant question, Scott. Maybe I should take you back to my life as a boy before I became the teenage guy. As I told you, I was born in Umoja Estate. It's in Eastlands, Nairobi, part of Nairobi. And my dad, after you remember, we had a 1982 coup attempt in Kenya. So after it happened, my dad, I think he lost his job and he relocated to the western part of Kenya, that is in Kakamega. So I found myself going to a school called Nabongo Primary before joining Kakamega Primary. Yeah. Then after that, I went to Kakamega High School. So when I was in Kakamega, we actually were raised in a village. My village is called St. Mogo, which I love so much because it taught me so much about hardships and life. We were actually living in a thatched house, thatched mud house.
Yeah, I've been to that side, Kakamega, and it's a very beautiful place.
Evergreen,
it's so nice.
Beautiful food, strong men.
Yes. Yes.
So Scott, I went through, looking after the goats, the cows, and I understood poverty. And after some time, my dad, by God's grace, he also got his job back in Nairobi. I remember by that time I was now in class 8. That's when he got to be recalled in Nairobi again. So by the time I was joining Kakamega High School, he had come back to Nairobi again, but now in Umoja, but not Umoja 1. We went back to Umoja 2. So we were living it's called a plot 10. This is like a one-bedroomed house.
Yeah, one bedroom.
And, we were many. I've told you I come from a family of about 8.
Oh, wow. So all in one bedroom.
Yeah, so we were never 8 because some would stay with my mom in Kakamega. When we had a vacation, that's when I'll come. I have a younger brother, he's also a musician called Daddy Owen. There's another one called Fidel. There's another one called Sledge. So it will be like you'll go in shifts.
How was the comfort compared to the thatched house versus you're in now the one room? It's about the same maybe? Or?
The beauty about my village in Kakamega called State Mogo, by that time, we would be in the thatched house, but no one realized that was poverty.
Yes.
Because it was a uniformed village. And there was true love by that time. When somebody gives you a smile, it's from the heart. If you'd go out to play, wherever lunch will find you, you'll eat at your neighbor's place. Come evening, assuming, even as young men, we used to have clubbing in the village. It's called Disco Matanga, you understand?
Yes.
So on Fridays, we'll meet maybe at your digs, and then we would like the way you Google search the nearest hotel or the nearest place to go. So it will be who has died. Because everywhere there's death, there's a disco matanga.
Oh, okay.
So that was our plot. So, someone has lost a brother, a father, and all that. They are crying, but for us as young men, we know
there's some food available. Or
but more
not really a party, but
more so it was to kill the boredom because we are young guys, full of energy. And then, it was adventurous. Somebody could have died 10 kilometers away, another one 6 kilometers away. And for Disco Matanga, you can't go at 7 p.m.
Wow.
You have to make sure first you take your dinner, you're full. Then you can agree, all of you meet maybe under a certain tree. Boys like 8 to 10. Then you start your journey at around 10. You go to that other place. It might take you an hour. Wow. Then when you get there, even in the Disco Matanga, it used to have levels. So the men, they were to be given the privilege. So they will get all the beautiful girls. The small boys, you'll be told to stay outside.
Wow.
So so every time you'd always wish, how come we're being locked outside? What do you have to do? Why am I? It's like you are made to almost hate being a small boy. But it had so many, we had fights. It was just adventurous. As men, before going there, you have to cross rivers at night. You would hear some animal just making noise in the dark and you don't know. Some would tell you that is a hyena. You could not confirm.
Wow.
So that should I say, do you call it adrenaline?
Definitely.
Yes, that it
keeps you going.
It keeps you going, and what do you call it? Is it dopamine or whatever?
Yeah, the dopamine.
Dopamine, where you're like, this one was dangerous. Can we get another one that is more dangerous than the former one? That made us kick. And when you came to Nairobi, on the other hand, there was too much influence from the West. I would say, Scott, from America.
American influence.
So here, people are concentrating more on fashion, on dance styles, on the trending movie, on the trending, you understand, language. We call it Sheng.
Yeah.
So fitting in, it's like you're experiencing a culture shock. Somebody will tell you, you have an accent. You're like, what do you mean? I'm a Kenyan. So they'll say, you speak like a Luya. You have a Luo accent. So that's when you realize, in the village...
And you never noticed.
No one ever brought it to your attention. So fitting into Nairobi, it took a lot of time. But again, it was quite a new learning experience.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting because, culturally, Kenya is very different from U.S., right?
Yes.
But, we have kind of similar experiences.
Okay.
I come from the kind of rural part of the U.S.
Okay.
In Texas, we have
I've been to Texas.
The people are the cowboys.
Yes.
The very small, not quite village, I would say, but we have the thick accents. We type of accents.
Yeah.
But definitely, it's you go to the big city and you have to learn how to speak differently.
Oh, so it's quite the same experience.
Yeah, it's very similar. From the small areas, we don't know about the fashion. We weren't concerned with the fashion so much. Weren't concerned with what's popular, what's the cool thing to do.
You've made me remember. Sorry, I'm cutting you off.
Yes.
But when I was in America, I came to realize that how is it? Maybe you'll actually make us understand. How is it possible that you'll find somebody maybe they were born in Kakamega, schooled in Kakamega, went to university in Kakamega, and they've never been even to Kisumu or Nakuru or Nairobi. Why is that trend in parts of America? I found many people, they just say, I come from Texas, I've never been to any other place,
Yeah.
and they're comfortable just being there.
I mean, I think it's. I think what you've highlighted is one. Everybody loves their home area, right? That's their home.
Okay, yeah.
Right. So
Yes.
I'm from Texas. That's my home.
Yes.
So that's where I feel most comfortable.
Yes.
Maybe you like Kakamega, and that's
That's
the
of
place
course, that's why I feel
you
most
feel so
comfortable.
comfortable,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Now if we say go to Garissa
Yes.
or to some other place, and you like, oh, this is a little different. It's not
Yes.
bad. It's not. It's just different.
Okay.
So I think that's sort of the way I feel about it in the U.S. So I'm from Texas. I'll visit New York or California or these
Okay.
different places that have very different cultures.
Yeah.
And they're cool. They have nice things, good food,
Okay.
good music.
Okay.
They have everything. But you usually feel comfortable where your home is. And I think that's one thing that I've noticed people in America have a hard time understanding.
Okay.
Maybe they come and say, "Well, you live in a thatched house.
Yes.
Oh, that's so bad. How
I will
how
tell
could you-"
people I'm from Kenya, and they'll tell me, "Yeah, Grand Kenyan. I know Grand Kenyan." I'm like, no,
Yeah. so
Yeah,
so
yeah.
but you say okay, you had the thatched house. You
Yes.
you and your friends would run and
Yes.
and see the
So,
hyenas and
yes,
see
yes.
all this was happening, and to you it's great fun.
It
It's
was
your home. It's where
amazing.
you're from. So that's what people really have to understand. That in the same way, I would run with my friends in Texas, and we would go.
Okay. Now I
they do the
understand.
thing called the cow tipping, and you
Yes.
hit the cow and it falls over while it's sleeping. And
Yes, yes.
everybody has their cultural things that they do, and that's their home. So that's
Now I understand.
Yeah,
So that's why I'm telling you about Nairobi. So when I came, I
It's very
experienced
different for you.
Exactly, but because the desire to pursue my music career was greater than my background. I had to pursue, and I had to go through all the fires to get to my destination.
Yeah.
And until today, that's what I'm chasing. I'm just chasing the dream that I had when I was a small village boy in Kakamega.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm doing right now.
And is that kind of how you became born again? I guess because you
Yeah, I
had that transition, and you
That's a beautiful question.
Yeah.
Now, my experience when I was doing all these songs, because I was a secular artist for about 6 years, if I'm not wrong, around that time, and I didn't get to be content. I would get a song out, I would get to go on TV, I would pass by the estate, all the peers would know me, all the girls will know me, and I would indulge in so many, should I say, the things that young men do. But at the end of the day, when it came to evening when I'm alone, I was not at peace. I was not at peace. I remember that time I had a void in my heart, and I could not explain it. Before knowing it, most of the friends that I had, they started dying one after the other. And some, if they didn't die physically, they died emotionally. By that, I'm just saying you could have a friend called Scott, he's my buddy, but he gets into drugs. In the next 3-4 years, when I go talk to him, he's not
the same person.
He's not the same person. I lost a friend, due to drugs and all that. And then I just got to a point whereby I was like, what is there to do in life? Because if it's about being known, I'm known countrywide, but still I'm not content. Until now, I remember there's this time, I think the artist called Shaggy was coming into Kenya, and he was actually performing at the Carnival, if I'm not mistaken, and I was supposed to be like one of the curtain raisers. And I remember that day I lacked bus fare. So, and from Umoja to town was around 10 or 20 shillings, and I didn't have that money. And then from from town to Langata, that is where the carnival is, was around another 20 shillings. So I didn't have like 40 to 50 shillings. And then as a Luya young man, it is a taboo for you to sleep at home on the 31st. You see, that culture was still in me.
Sure.
That you couldn't spend the night at home and you are ushering in a new year. So I had a friend of mine called Ariji, and I told him, man, I can't sleep. And then he told me, if you can't sleep in your house because it's not good, then let's go to church. And he took me to a church, Umoja One and Buruburu, the just neighboring estates. Sure. I went to East Buruburu, and then I was like, I can go to church. Let me go find out. I'm told there are beautiful girls there, and they're not as the club girls, so I can get one for myself. So I walked into this church, and Scott, why are you laughing?
It's funny the way that the things that draw you into the church.
I just went there, yeah, for the harvest, but I was harvested instead. So when I was raising my hands, because I'd not been in church for like over 10 years. The last time I was in church was in the year 1994 when my younger brother passed on. So it was actually in his burial. That's when I happened to be in a church, because it was ceremonial. You can't bury somebody without using a church. Kind of you understand? Yeah. So that's the last time I was there. This is 2000. It was 1999 stroke 2000. So this when I'm getting into a church, and I'm like, oh man, it's been longer. By that time, I think it was over 6 years or something. Yeah.
And were your parents church-going people?
No.
You were never in church as a child?
No. Yeah. I've told you, we'll go to church when there's something serious, like
burial
maybe a
burial
something, or a baptism. Maybe, but no one was a church goer. So when I was raising my hands, I encountered a vision. Many people might not understand what a vision is, but anyone who's spiritual, either witches or Christians, they'll understand. So I saw this image of the globe, Scott, and it's like I was taken up onto the clouds, and I could see the globe underneath the clouds. So I could see the African continent, the European continent, American continent, South America, Asia. I could see it very comfortably. And then I had a voice telling me, why are you misleading the young people to hell? Why are you doing that? So it was not like a condemnation. It was a very calm voice. It's like somebody...
Kind of a question.
Exactly. So it was not, I wouldn't say a rebuke or something, but it was just like an open question. Why are you misleading all these young people? Because I had back-to-back songs that were really big in the clubs. And I was like, why asking me this? And then it's like, I was like, what's the deal then? What would you rather I do? Then the voice just told me I would be okay if you were to redirect these same young people onto me. Onto the truth, onto the cross, onto my son, Jesus Christ. And I was like, then how do I do that? And why do you want me to do it now? Because I was still hurting, you remember. I've undergone, I went through a serious heartbreak, That's the time when you're in love with a girl, and then I didn't have a heartbreak. It was a chest break, actually.
chest break. I've never heard that one before. You just
my
ripped your chest out.
My ribs were evaporating, I can tell you. So, and other than that, I was asking so many questions about my career. My dad, again, as a Luya man, you are not allowed, when kids get to 18, they have to cut contacts with their parents. This idea of you are 30-something and you're still staying under your parents.
They don't have that. No.
They don't. You've been to Western. If you've been to Western, you get circumcised. They build a special house for you. It's called an isimba, a lion. And they want to see if you can seduce a girl, if you're productive. Do you understand? So we happen to have matured, but now we're in Nairobi.
Oh, okay.
We are not no longer.
So you don't have the same
setup, but my dad's principalities are still the same. So he was like, you know what, guys, we cannot be three men with beards under the same roof. We cannot shave the three of us. So either you go out or I go out. But as the dad, I think you guys should go out. So that's how my dad kicked me out. And as the elder bro, I just moved from. We were staying in Umoja One. And then after I just cleared high school, my younger brother, the one also had cleared. So I had to take him in. And that's when I went to another estate, still Umoja, but it has categories like there is P, Q,
Yeah.
R, S, T.
You sure?
So my dad was, I think, in P, me, I moved to K.
Yeah.
And then I took in my brother. And we were living in an extension. And so you can imagine all those culminations, and you're not employed.
And did you have the music then already to be
I,
any
I
money,
was
or
I
was it
was
very small?
I was a secular artist then, and you remember I told you after getting born again, I had to isolate myself so as I marinate onto the gospel. So for 1 year I was jobless. So economically, we call it you're living by grace. You don't know where your next meal will come from. But I'm not blaming my dad, because I think that hardened us. Because if you would not have done that, probably I wouldn't know how to exist and live by myself in Nairobi or anywhere else. So that is how we began life with my younger brother. So that's how I took in Daddy Owen and also him. That's another story for later on.
Yeah, longer time. Yeah.
But I was under a lot of stress by the time I was getting born again. And that's when I went to God and I told him, why are you taking me through all these hurdles? But if you've called me, then show me, give me the patience, show me how to do this. And that's how, after doing the gospel songs, I was asked to isolate, marinate, then attack.
Yeah.
And that's what I did, Scott.
Well, and I know that from financial success, at least in America, and I'm sure it's similar here.
Yeah.
When you're going from the secular to the gospel,
Yeah.
sometimes the financial aspect of going into the gospel, when you're first starting,
Yeah.
it could be a struggle.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the same here, but I feel like for the new artists, like
Yeah.
the secular music,
Yeah.
there's more financial gain maybe, and then moving into gospel. Now, I'm sure for yourself, now that you've become a big star and you've had many years at this,
Scott,
you've
that
been able
that
to,
revelation, God has given you that revelation, because that's copy paste of what happened.
Yeah.
When I was coming out doing secular music, it was the biggest industry in Kenya. Gospel was perceived to be uncool for the elderly and for the backward people,
Yeah.
so to speak. So, of course, there were no financial gains. In fact, one of the greatest challenges that I faced, Scott, was when you go singing in a church, you'd have that awkward moment where you don't know, do you say, do you have anything for me?
yeah.
Or do you just turn and walk away?
Yeah, because
So,
they just have you come to the church, just
freely,
there's no expectation of any money.
Exactly. So freely you got the gospel, freely you give. That's one challenge that I encountered a lot when I just got born again. And until now, again, I had to pray about it. I was like, God, now what do I do about this? And I thank God, because you remember I told you when I was doing secular, I would get lots of publicity by just going for live performances and getting a lot of money. But after I got born again, that is when now I got the wisdom of, should I say, monetizing my talent. So when I was still in this single house, I started now copying the tapes that you're peddling in high school or in primary school. So I will start peddling them onto the music shops. So those gospel tapes are the ones that God used to sustain me and to start my financial independence. Because now when I started taking it onto the market area in River Road, they were flying off the shelves just like that. And that's how now I started now getting to be on my feet.
Sure, and particularly if you get the gospel music in a way that
Yes.
relates to the
The
crowd that you're
masses.
trying to, the masses.
Yes.
And it takes some time. I know in the U.S. we had the older gospel music, like you said, was not that good.
Yes.
I don't think. It took some time for it to really mature and to, I don't know why that is, but it seems like the early gospel artists, 30, 40 years ago, it wasn't so good. But then over time, guys like you've come into the industry and innovated and
in fact, that's why I must say thanks to God, because I was one of the artists who was used to revolutionize the gospel industry in Kenya.
Yeah.
Because as I've told you, remember, I was a club person, I was a secular artist, and I knew all the ropes, and I knew what clicked, and I knew what the masses, who are the young people, wanted to hear. So when I came into gospel, I knew some of the shortcomings as to why the young people are not clicking with the gospel music.
Yeah.
So by God's mercies, when I went into the studio, I had, should I say, the rights to creativity. And I also worked with my producer very closely. So, and I thank him, Robert Kamanzi, because he's the one who told me now, because you are young and we are moving from old to young, I think what you need to do, we cannot just aim onto the young people 100%. Let's do something that accommodates both the younger and the older. So my choruses were tailor-made in Luya, because now Luya was it's actually my mother tongue, and it's actually clicked with the older people. But my verses in my song now I put rap. So it was like
You kind of bridge the gap of all these.
both. It was like an amphibian. They call amphibians something that can be both on land and water.
Yeah.
So it could resonate with both the older people and the young people.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting because I know when I was young, I grew up in the Methodist church, and I don't know if you know the Methodist, but it's like the Anglican.
Yes.
The music you have is the hymnal, very very boring. Nothing.
Hymns.
The hymns. I mean,
Yeah.
they're good. They're good
Yes.
music, but
Yes.
they're not going.
They don't relate to the young people.
Yeah, the young people, they don't understand. And I remember we had a guy who came to our church. He was directing the youth for some time. And he had
Yes.
long hair.
Yes.
Very modern guy. And
Yes.
he booked a heavy metal Christian band to come play at our church. And because of that, I had access to the artists and got to talk to them, and they played a heavy metal concert at our church.
What
And
did
it changed my mind.
what did the elders say?
The elders, they were like, I don't know if these people are Christian with the long hair.
Okay.
They said they couldn't believe that this was, they didn't like it though. The elders, they did not like that music.
What
but
did it do to you as a young person?
Well, I went out and bought a guitar. I learned how to play,
nice.
so I started playing rock guitar, these
wonderful,
things,
man.
because, it was like, it was so relatable, and it just changed my way of thinking about, that this type of music could be, Christian music.
Now you understood it was about the heart, not the looks.
Yeah, exactly. Because
Yeah.
you just understand that there's so many different ways in modernizing things. People say like, certain pastors will say the King James Bible is the only Word of God Bible.
Yes.
And I don't really say that because the King James, I don't know when it was written, but hundreds of years ago.
Yes.
And yet people are like still, it must be the King James Bible.
Yes.
Well, now we have new modern
Yes.
translations,
Translations,
right?
yes.
And we expect our music to move. We expect things to flow and
Yes.
become more modern. And
Yes.
that doesn't mean it's bad. It doesn't mean it's going
Yes.
against God. It means that it's, it's reaching that new,
Adapting to-
that new.
yeah, okay.
I mean, even my kids now, I
Yes.
don't understand the music they listen to. I don't know how you feel like with a lot of the new music that's going.
The same to me. I don't understand what music and what clicks with them. I totally don't understand what resonates with them.
Yeah, because
Yes.
even, I mean, every form of music, rap, hip hop,
Yes.
I mean, all these things, even 20, 30 years ago,
Yes.
even maybe more recent, like 10 years ago,
Yeah.
I could really relate. These
Yes.
songs I understand.
Yes.
But nowadays it seems
There's a
like
new
it's-
generation.
There's a
that
new
has come into-
generation.
Exactly.
And it's becoming, very crazy. But it's interesting, your story about how you became born again. I find it very fascinating that you had a vision for this.
Yes.
Do you usually have these type of visions now, or is it just like a one-time thing?
The one that I remember vividly is that one, and of course, there's been others. They're not as intense as that one,
Yeah.
but it's like they echo the same vision that I
Yeah.
had. Having said that, I've been born again for the last. This is 2025. Then I should say 25 years. I've been born again. So that is what prompted my salvation. And now I'm on a mission to make sure that this gospel is spread throughout the world. I was called for this nation,
Yes.
and even the village mates. That's why I tailor-made my songs to suit the Luya people.
Yeah.
But that was a springboard to the nation and to the nations.
Yes.
And right now I've decided, I actually ventured into fashion. I started a recording company called Lampstand Records.
Yeah.
I also went into politics a little bit. And as I'm here today, it's very interesting because now I'm starting a new chapter. This year, I'm thinking of starting my own podcast.
Yes.
And the reason being, I think we're having, as you've put it, there's a new generation that has come, and people need to talk to them in love and to guide them, because I think there's a vacuum there that, if left unattended to, might lead to something that we are not ready for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think definitely you have a lot to offer
Yeah.
to the young people, and even just, the nation in general, with your experience. I mean, just like you're saying, this idea of the vision.
Yeah.
So, like, take my experience. I think you and I have a very similar type of
I'm humbled, man.
relation,
I'm
because
humbled.
because
Yes.
I told you I grew up in the Methodist church.
Yes.
It's not such an exciting church.
Yes.
It's a very structured.
Reserved.
It's not it's not the type of church where you're speaking tongues and raising hands and things like
It's
that.
not Pentecostal.
So yeah,
Yes.
so one of the things how I ended up coming here to East Africa, my story of coming here to East Africa, is I saw some refugees in the U.S.
Okay.
They were really struggling. They came from their home areas. I was curious what was happening, and I wanted to help, but I didn't know how I could do it. I'll skip you. The story would take a long time, so just for the time, I won't go into a lot of the details. But one night I was sleeping and I had a vision, a dream.
You're kidding me.
And I've never had this happen before. People, I didn't like to tell people this because they think I was crazy.
No. Seriously.
Yeah. So I had this vision, a dream.
Yes.
And in the dream, all I could see is a sign in front of me.
Yeah.
I said, the sign said Entebbe, Entebbe.
Yes.
And there was African boys, and I said, "Where am I?" Because I've never heard of Entebbe before. I don't
Yes.
know anything really about Africa.
Yes.
I'm from Texas. I don't know nothing.
Yeah.
And I said, "What's this? What's this sign?" And I asked the boy that's standing in front of me, in front of the vision. I said, "What is this?" And he said, "Don't you know you've arrived in Entebbe, and the Lord our God has sent you to help us?"
No.
And I woke up and I told my wife, I said, "I just had this vivid dream. I don't know what it is." I said, "I don't even know the sign I saw, and I could just spell it."
Yeah.
I said, Entebbe. I said, "What is that?" And my wife said, "That's the airport of Uganda. If you were
Yeah.
going to fly into Uganda, that's how you would enter." And so I said, "Uganda, I don't know. What is that?"
Yeah,
I don't know. I
exactly.
don't know this. I don't know these places. It's
Yes.
like if I asked you, "Where's Cincinnati, Ohio," or something.
Yes,
you
I don't know. Yeah.
So I go to the computer and I type Uganda. The first thing that comes up is this photo of this guy Joseph Kony and the Lord's Resistance Army of Uganda. It said northern Uganda has been terrorized by the Lord's Resistance Army,
Yes.
and they say it's the worst humanitarian crisis that nobody is doing anything about. And so it was like God hit me and said, "You need to do something about that. Now that you know, you have to do something." So I came in and told my wife. I said, she saw the look on my face, and she said, "We're going to Uganda, aren't we?" I said, "Yeah, I think so. I think we're going to go visit Uganda, northern Uganda. Never been there before. Don't know anything about it."
What year did you come to Uganda?
We came in 2010 for the first time. So luckily the war was finished.
Yes.
But the people had started returning to the camps. They had been displaced.
Yeah.
A lot of bad things happened in that
Yes,
time.
yes,
So when we went, we were shocked and surprised. My wife actually grew up here. She moved here when she was 7. Her parents were the missionaries here.
Yeah.
So she's probably heard your music from back in the days when she was growing up.
I hope so.
To be sure that she,
Yes,
she may have heard your songs from back in the day. So,
Yes.
but that's how, and I've never really had that type of vision before. So, I think
Scott, I'm surprised, man. It's like they're interrelated.
yeah. So
Yes.
I think it's important for people to realize that it's, these things do happen.
Yes.
God speaks to his people.
Yes.
Happens in strange ways sometimes. And it's not something that's like a common thing where people are
Yes.
walking around just prophesying.
Yes,
And,
yes.
Yes. I see some vision in the fire or something.
It happened once, it's never happened again, and
Yeah.
it was as vivid, as clear,
Yeah.
maybe clearer than
Yeah,
seeing you today.
Yeah, you know this is your calling.
Yes.
That's how I ended up for the last 11 years being in East Africa with the vision I got. The same way with your career, it
Yes.
sounds like you clearly now knew
Yes,
you're the gospel guy.
Yes.
You've got a mission for the world.
yes.
And with this, where is this? Where all has this taken you? I mean, is it?
Scott, I can tell you, I must thank God. As I've told you, I was born in Nairobi but raised in the village. So you can imagine, here I am, as I've told you, I've started doing my gospel song. Now I'm selling the tapes, and now I'm beginning to get invitations. Yeah. I remember the first flight I took was to Kisumu, and I got an invitation in a church there. That's the first time I was ever on a plane.
Yeah.
And then immediately after that, when I came back to Nairobi, my songs had gone international. I remember I got nominated to it's called the Kora Music Awards in South Africa, where I was under the East African category. Before knowing it, I also got nominated to the American Gospel Music Awards, and that's how I ended up in Florida, and that's how I ended up in Texas. I was in Texas, what do you call it? Is it Irvin? There's a place, is it Irvin?
Yeah.
I've been to Irvin, the music state for country music. What is it called?
To Tennessee?
Tennessee,
with
exactly. Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Of course, I took a Greyhound ride.
to ride the bus with all
I'm telling
the
you,
crazy,
but
the
they were
crazy people.
comfortable. I mean, I enjoyed myself.
How was it compared to taking the bus in
you
Kenya to the bus there?
The Greyhound for me, it was quite comfortable.
Yeah.
It's like
fancy
you're riding on.
bus.
It's a ground plane.
Yeah.
The only thing was, man, the AC was too cold for me.
Yeah.
But it was amazing. I really enjoyed myself. So I was explaining, after going to South Africa for the Kora Awards nomination, everything paid for. I got a nomination for the American Gospel Music Awards under the international category.
Nice.
We were at the Hyatt Hotel in Florida. Then after that, I got an opportunity of getting so many invitations. Even I was we went to the TBN. And after that, I just got lots of invitation around the States. Yeah. And from there, I've been to Holland, Helsinki. I've been to the Ahoy Hall. I've been to countless, and I don't want to talk about African countries because it's been like a normal thing. Yeah. And I can tell you, even if I come to end today, God has been faithful, because I never imagined that my music will go global. And I just know that I'm only but getting started. Yeah. I feel like I'm on the second leg of what the Lord began. Yeah. So I'm as excited as ever before. But He's been faithful. I can tell you, I've seen what He's done in my life, and I can tell you, the villagers where I come from in St. Mogo, they can tell you for sure there's a God who got this young man from the village to the globe.
Yeah. What was the craziest thing when you traveled to the U.S.? What was the craziest experience that you had that would really shock our viewers?
My shocker, I think that's the first time I found out bottomless. I remember there's a time I went to Texas, and I was given this big, was it a burger or what, man? You guys are generous with meat.
Yes.
I ate it, and you understand, it's like, it was too big for an individual. Yeah. Another thing about America that I saw, and it was out of this place, your switch are upside down, or we call it, there you switch on the Kenyan lights.
Yeah.
You guys...
You do it the opposite way.
Of course, your cars are... Everything about America is
big.
It's
including
big.
The people.
Even the people...
I mean, you're a pretty tall guy, but they're
massive,
I mean, the people in the U.S., they get so big from those burgers that even if they're at the shop, they have to have those electric scooters to move.
I'm telling you. But what I like...
You don't see that in Kenya, though.
Now it's getting to Kenya.
Yeah.
But I also liked your hotels, the restaurants, and, you're very generous with food. The varieties, when you're talking about the cocktail. Another thing that I saw in America that I was amazed with was, it doesn't matter how interior it is, you have a very modern downtown. Yeah. You would hear people talking about blah, 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 but when you go to the downtown, it's quite... respectable, and it's quite modern,
like the CBD type of place,
right? Exactly. So every city has a very beautiful downtown. What else do I remember that I liked about America? There's one thing I saw in America. A school bus will come, and everyone would appear like they're grown-ups, and then you're told they're kids aged 12.
Yes.
That one I didn't understand.
Yeah.
It's a bus full of kids, But when you look at them, you think they're 20,
They're so big and so
exactly.
grown up looking.
Another thing I noticed is the extreme weather temperatures, because I remember when I was in Florida, you'd come out of a building and the heat would actually literally
Yeah, your
heat.
skin just melts off almost.
Exactly. But the people were kind, and I liked the way the creative space is respected. People respect entertainment so much. The systems have been put in such a way that the influencers, the opinion shapers, a majority of them are from the creative space, and I love that about it.
Yeah, I know a lot of guys who've come from here to America. They've had a lot of culture shock or very difficulties. Like I remember one particular time we've had some pastors who've come from Kenya to that side, and the very popular food in Texas, one of the popular foods is called taco, which to them sounds very much like taco. So you tell them, okay, we're going to go have taco. It's very good. No, we won't eat that. No, we refuse. And you explain it's a good meat. Maybe you could explain to our viewers what the taco is. It's like
in Kenya, when you're talking about the taco thing, it's the humans behind.
Yes.
So when you say you're gonna have beef made of taco, it's like you're gonna eat somebody's behind. So that.
So you try to explain it. You show it's just the meat, and then you show them the meat. Like no, I can't have that one. So
I understand.
But it's the same way that when I came here, there's a huge cultural shock as well.
Oh yes.
I remember one story that was particularly culture shock to me. Even it's like a small thing.
Yes.
So I traveled a lot to the rural remote areas, and I used to have to print a lot of maps because this is before Google Maps and everything. We'd print these maps, and there's a term that people use here that we don't use in U.S. It's called if you go into the washroom they call a short call and a long call.
Yes.
I don't know if you know these terminology.
Yes, of course.
So you have the short call for one type of using the restroom, and if you do a different type, it's a longer call.
Yes.
Our listeners can interpret that. So I didn't know this, though. I've never heard these things. So we're supposed to be traveling to meet some village elders, and the guy I'm driving with, he says, I need to stop and make a short call.
Yeah.
And he gets out of the phone, and the car, he has his phone.
Yes.
Right? And he goes to the bushes and to make a short call.
Yes.
So he comes back, and I said, well, what did the village elders say?
Yeah.
He said, I didn't talk to them. I'm thinking, well, we went to make a call. Why did he not talk to them?
Yeah.
So we stop a little bit later.
Yes.
He needs to make another short call. He goes to the bushes.
Yes.
And I asked, what did the elders say? I haven't talked to them.
Okay.
I keep saying, why are you making all these calls and you're not talking to them? I
Yes.
don't understand.
Yes.
So then we get very deep into the bush. This is a very remote place.
Yes.
And the driver stops and he's sweating. And they start speaking their local language. I don't understand.
Yeah.
And the guy tells me, he says, the driver, he needs to go do a long call.
Yeah.
So I say, okay, that's fine. Go make call somebody for a long time. I
Yes.
think he's calling somebody on the phone.
Yes.
So the driver, he grabs my book of maps
Yes.
and he runs into the village. And he comes back and there's no maps. And I say, where's the maps? And the driver says, well, I have some food poisoning and we need to return home.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. That's okay. We can go back if you have food poisoning.
Yeah.
But I need my maps.
Yes.
No, you don't understand. The driver made he had a long call and the maps are finished.
Yes.
No, I need my maps. And they say, no, you don't want the maps. I said, well, I understand he was calling somebody for a very long time,
Yes.
but so we had this communication.
I understand. There's this instance. I went, I think, to a dentist in America, and asked them, where is the toilet?
Yes.
And they could not understand. What you call them, cloakroom?
Yeah, we call them the bathroom.
The bathroom, exactly.
Yes.
So when I was talking about the toilet, I think there were two receptionists.
Yeah.
So the other one was like, you have very good English. And I was like, what do you mean? I just need to use the toilet.
Very, very formal.
Yeah, that one was like, the bathroom, this way. But, it took us some time for us to understand each other.
Yes, and that communication. I mean, when you come to a different culture, there's all these
Yeah.
one lady from Sudan. She came and she was saying that nobody could understand her because instead of saying bathroom, she would say butt room. And so I was like, where's the butt room? You know, some people were like, what is this place that you're talking about? So, you know, these things get lost in translation and people get very confused.
Yeah.
So I mean, we could have a whole night of these crazy things that have happened. But it's great to see that you've been across the world. I'm sure Europe was a crazy place too.
Of course. Oh man. Yeah. Yes.
But so now you've maybe you could just kind of tell our listeners about some of the success you've had. So you've done everything.
I don't want to say I'm successful because I'm still on a mission.
Yes.
But one thing I can tell you from where I'm seated, I know my peers who we began with in the village, not all of them, but I can tell you honestly, Scott, if I look at my life, I was supposed to still be in the village. Yes. And I was meant to be a village boy, leading a comfortable village life. Mm-hmm. But how God turned that one from a village boy to an international minister, to me it is still a big, should I call it, puzzle. And for me that is success. The fact that I've been used to impart, to reach, to preach to people beyond these borders, to me that is a success story. So I'll use my story to encourage somebody out there. You've heard Scott saying most of the people are comfortable within their comfort zone. So I'm calling out people with potential. If God has called you, don't be scared. He'll take good care of you. You'll find people saying, where's the bathroom? All those things you'll go. You'll get your maps being used for other funny businesses. But step out. And once you start small, God will make it big. So for me, I began small, and my big God has made me big. That's my success story.
Oh, great. Well, and it sounds like maybe the next step for you, you're looking at your own podcast, maybe.
I want to do my own
It seems
podcast.
like you're very well suited for this type of format.
Why are you saying that?
Well, you have a message to share,
Oh,
and
awesome.
I think you can really bring that out of others who are on the similar journey to what you're trying to do. I mean, it's something that's very well needed. I think the world is lost. I mean, we see all of the politics, we see all of the things that are crazy things that are happening, and you know, you seem like very on a mission that you can bring.
In fact, I had forgotten. I also want to venture into music. Not music, movies, animation.
Yes,
I want to do lots of animation.
Well, and that's what's kind of interesting, right? Because you know, Kenya seems to be at the right place where now with all the technology we have, you know, the movies and everything, it's like the right time. Previously, it was so expensive to maybe make a movie or to do these things, but now you know you have the
with
cameras,
AI
you have
and yes.
Everything is poisoned, and it would be really great to see other countries come up with exciting movies because you know sometimes Hollywood and the U.S. I don't know, the last few years has been, you know, it's a lot of sequels, or you know, you can only see Iron Man 15, you know, or they you know, these things that it just you know, they regurgitate the same the idea over and over again, and you know, we need new things. We need things that are really exciting these days, I think. So I think there's a lot of opportunity.
And I think Africa is the next place where you'll have rich stories.
Yes.
And we have young people, young men who are ready to jump into that space.
Yeah.
So as I've told you, I want to do more fashion, animation, and movies. That's what I want to do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you've seen where things have come over your lifetime, you know, and now things are really at a place, I think, where the resources are there, the global talent is there, you know, the world is your stage, I guess, as I should say.
The world is my stepping stone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exciting. Okay.
Yes.
Well, I think that's about the questions I have for you. It's really great to chat with you. I'm sure we can do this some more and have even a longer term. There's tons of stories, like you say. There's so much we could go into. But
for me, I must say, the next time you'll see me here, I'll be coming out of the world tour.
Yes.
But again, thank you for having me.
Yeah. Where's the next stop for you?
The world is my playground.
Yes.
I don't even know next, but
Don't
I
know-
can
don't know
assure
the
you,
next thing.
I can assure you, my passport is about
Do
to
you,
get.
do you have
through.
any new albums coming out or new?
It's interesting. I've just begun my new album like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
It's actually called "The God Shall Bow," and it's going to be coming out by the end of this year. So people should look out for that because I've been out of the studio for about 10 years now.
Yeah.
Everyone has been wondering what's happening.
Yeah. So
But,
this is the big comeback.
This is the major comeback, I can
Yeah.
assure you.
And the God, what is it called? The God.
The God shall bow.
The God shall bow. And,
Yeah.
and what's the significance of that?
That is the secret. So
Or it's a secret
let
inside
people
the
go
album.
research.
Yes.
Yeah, that is the
Okay.
catch-22
Well,
over there.
All right. So be sure to go
Yes.
check that out because we
Yes.
got a new release coming
From Mr. Iggy Rufftone
yes,
himself.
Yes, there's going to be a big time. You're going to have to go out and buy this record like crazy.
Yes.
So, all right. Well, great. It's been great talking to you. And
Thank you for having
it's
me,
It's a
man.
pleasure to have you on the show, and we look forward to seeing the next steps for you and having this conversation again sometime.
Thank you so much, Scott.
Okay.
I really enjoyed
Appreciate
myself.
it. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.